So you forgot how to graph. Okay, here's a quick review. In terms of setting up your data, you're going to want 3 columns of data if you're going to linearize. You're going to have 2 columns of X data and then 1 column of Y data. Now, columns B and C are the columns that we're going to be working with. Your first job is to go ahead and graph that. You're going to go ahead and insert a scatter plot just as we've done, and you'll notice here that clearly right now that this is not a straight line. You can confirm by adding a trend line. As you add the trend line, you click on these 2 preferences and you'll notice that the end result is you have an equation. The equation has an R² value that's 0.92. That's not within the acceptable range. So we want to go ahead and linearize this. The quickest and fastest way to do it is to click on column B. All right? Column A is your original X data without any changes. We're going to linearize this based on one of our functions. This looks like an X² function. You're going to click the equals. All right? A lot of people forget that. We're going to click on the cell that we want to change. All right? You're going to put a caret in. And once again, this function looks like a squared, so I'm going to press enter. I'm going back up to that slide. I'm going to go ahead and check to make sure that it is taking that cell and it is squaring it. Now, I could type this all the way down. That's kind of a waste of time. I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of the box and notice that my white plus turns to a black plus. I'm going to left-click and hold. Again, that's left-click and hold. I'm going to drag this down and I'm going to release my hand. As I release my hand, what's going to happen here is it's going to take all the data and fill it straight down. So what you have previously was a 0.92 R² value. We now have a 0.9979 R² value. We've linearized this. So you want to graph it now. You want to switch the data. So you're going to go ahead, you're going to go to Layout. And as you go to Design, you're going to choose this first preference here. It's going to allow you to change the preferences. As we put the title in, this is always going to be the Y data with units versus the X data, again, with units. Now notice what's happened here. I don't really have time on the X-axis anymore. I actually have time squared.
Could Abby Canase please come to the main office? Abby Canase, please come to the main office.
So I'm going to go ahead and put a squared in there, time squared. Now I need to put this on the X-axis, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that over here. And I'm going to just paste it in there, if I can get this to close out. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there. And you'll notice that, oops, I put it on the wrong axis. Sorry about that. That's the X data, so I want to put it over here. There we go. I'm going to take the distance. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the Y-axis. And there we go. Now, one of the final steps here is to go ahead and change that R² value and all the units in the graph. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this for us like that. And I'm just going to make this a little bit larger so you can see it. Okay, so when we look at this, the Y is no longer the Y. In this case, the Y is going to be distance. The X is no longer the X is going to be time, and we squared that, so it's going to be reflected right there. I have a number, which is the slope. That's going to get units. I have a meters on the Y-axis, and now I have seconds squared on the X-axis, so that's taking care of that. Here's the Y-intercept, and that's going to get the same units as the Y. That's going to be meter. So at this point, we have a completed graph right here. Of course, you don't want it that big, but you see the units have been reflected, or the changes have been reflected in 4 spots in the title, on the X-axis, in the X variable in the equation, and the X unit for the slope, and all those spots.